Have you ever run yourself ragged trying to do all the right things, whether it is trying to treat other people right or live according to your own values and your own expectations, or maybe even trying to do all the right things for God? Be a good Christian. If that is you and you are lacking the motivation to keep going, feeling a little dry and a little routine, or even just getting more resentful and more frustrated with yourself and others, that is a good sign of performance-based Christianity. And in this video, I'm going to talk about how to shift out of that and into freedom. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. That way you can be notified every time I release a new video on how to live fully alive. I'm a Christian life and leadership coach, and I help driven type A women go from trying harder and doing more to living free and authentically themselves. Let's talk about performance-based Christianity and, most importantly, how to shift out of it. I hope today you give yourself permission to stop trying to earn and perform for God's love and just sit and receive it. Because I truly believe that that is God's heart and that is where freedom is. So let's talk about how it starts. We replay our past experiences, our past hurts, our past failures, even our past successes. Our brain takes those experiences, takes the information from it, makes programs in our brain, which are basically our underlying beliefs, and then we just kept playing that program until we start to notice what we're doing, and we start to notice those beliefs and question and challenge those beliefs. And then we can actually decide if we want to keep repeating that or if we actually want to choose out of it and choose something different. Here's what that can look like with performance. If you have gotten a lot of admiration and approval and attention whenever you did something well, or you had a big success, or you achieved something really big, and on the flip side of that, maybe got disciplined when you didn't do a good job or you didn't perform well, then your brain probably took that experience, took that information, maybe even took that pain, and is trying to avoid pain and rejection happening again. And so you may have taken on the underlying belief, the lie, that your worth, your value, your lovability, your approval and connection and acceptance is attached to how much you can do and how well you can do it. And so what happens is it's this fear-based motivation. It's this fear that if I don't do enough, then I'm not going to be loved. If I don't do a good job, if I don't get it right, then I'm going to be rejected. Then I'm not going to be accepted by the group. And whether you're conscious of it or not, that's playing in the background. We do that so much with each other, with other people, and even with ourselves. We're scared of not being accepted by other people, not getting other people's approval. But we can also do that with ourselves. We can reject ourselves. We can condemn and shame ourselves if we're not living up to what we think a good Christian does. But you know what else? We do this with God too. We project all of our hurts, all of our thoughts, all of our pain from other imperfect humans, and we put it on God. We think that, okay, if I follow the Bible to a T, then He will accept me. Then He will give me what I want. Or if I do more at church, or if I do a good job, if I treat other people right, then He will accept me. Then He will love me. Then I'll be worthy. That is exhausting, and it's not even necessary because it's not even true. In reality, the reverse is true. See, we get it flip-flopped. One of my favorite verses is, we love because He first loved. So that means I can love other people. I can love myself. I can love God more because He first loved. He is the source. He went first. We are saved by grace, not we are saved because we finally got it together. I know I am not the only one that has fallen into performance-based living, performance-based Christianity. So let me know, how has this, or how is this playing out in your life? One of the concepts I teach in my program is called outside in living versus inside out living. I want to talk about outside in living and what that means. Outside in living says there's something outside of me that I need before I can be okay, before I can be enough, before I can be accepted and loved. It says, if I fill in the blank, then fill in the blank. Here's an example. If I do enough, then I'll be loved. If I hit this next level or this next milestone, then I'll be accepted. If I do all these godly things, then God will finally be proud of me. Do you see how by its very nature, it is conditional love? If you do XYZ, then God will XYZ. And this is where people get stuck, because it truly is like a hamster wheel, because it really never is enough. You can never do enough. You can never do more to be accepted. Number one, because you already are accepted and you already are loved. And number two, it's easy to stay on that wheel because even after you do more, you still feel the same. Even if you hit the next milestone, you still feel the same because the thing out there doesn't fill the thing that you're looking for that's missing. I'm sure you've heard it said that we all have a God-sized hole inside of us that only He can fill. Nothing outside of us is going to fill that hole. The thing is, we don't see it because we've believed all these other lies, and so we can't actually receive it, even though it's already there. Another thing about outside in living is that you're basically constantly coming from a deficit. You're constantly coming from not enough. You're constantly trying to earn your way to approval, acceptance, enoughness, if you will. And so one of the underlying beliefs in outside in living is I have to fill in the blank. I have to do this. I have to do that. You're constantly being driven by fear. It's like there's a bear behind you because basically your identity is on the line. Your worth, your value, your lovability is on the line. When you buy into this fear-based motivation and this deficit and these not enoughs, you're basically saying, I have to keep going. I have to stay on this wheel or else I'm not going to be loved. And we have a deep human desire to be loved. And so we will put ourselves through the ringer in order to get those needs met. I see this play out in many, many places, whether it's in the workplace, have to get the next raise, have to get the next milestone, have to get the next goal. But I also see it play out in our personal lives, in our relationships, in our spiritual disciplines. I have to read the Bible. I have to go to church. I have to do this thing or that thing. When I've seen this play out in my own life and in the lives of my clients, it almost feels like an external rule book that we put on ourselves and we study it and we try to follow it to a T. And it turns into this strict type of living, this rigid rules, this walking on eggshells. And it turns into legalism. It turns into law-based. It turns into religion over relationship. So how do we shift? How do we stop living from this legalistic, religious place with this rule book that feels so heavy and so weighty and shift into freedom, shift into relationship with God, shift into learning how to receive His grace? Well, this might be the hardest part for natural doers. Are you ready for it? We have to stop. We stop doing. We stop trying harder. We stop striving. We stop performing. We stop buying into the lie that we're not enough. We stop trying to find evidence to prove that lie true. And we start finding evidence that we are loved no matter what. Even when we didn't hit that mark, even when we made a mistake, even when we didn't do all the things, even when all of that happened, we are still enough. God still loves us. We are going to be okay. And I can tell you, time and time again, when we do that, it's like we run straight into the God of the universe. We come straight into contact with His grace and His love and His true character. When we come into direct contact with love, fear melts, right? Perfect love casts out all fear. And when those walls of fear can come down, when our identity and our worth and our acceptance and our approval isn't on the line based on our actions and our performance and our behavior, then the fear comes down, and then we can actually step into our power to choose. And we no longer have to, right? We're no longer being motivated by fear. We're now being motivated by love. It shifts to, I choose to, I want to, I get to. Are we gonna always get it right? Are we gonna mess up? Yes, absolutely, we're gonna mess up. And I will tell you, even in those cases, love and grace is more motivating than shame and guilt and condemnation ever could be. And through that, the process reverses. So instead of outside in living, we start living inside out. Inside out living says, no matter what, I'm enough. No matter what, I'm still loved. Even when I mess up, even at my worst, I'm still accepted. Do you see how that is unconditional love? It's not conditional on what we do or don't do. See, with inside out living, we have nothing to lose. We have nothing to prove. We have already won. Our worth, our identity, it's all already settled. And if you have been living according to your performance and your behavior and your effort for years or even a lifetime, and then all of a sudden you realize your worth and your value and your identity is already settled, that is overwhelming. And that is motivating in the best way possible. That is now love-based motivation. And that is the fuel that actually changes your behavior automatically. You no longer have to think so hard or try so hard or use so much personal self-control to do the right thing because you have experienced love. And so it's contagious. It overwhelms you and it overflows in every area of your life. And this is what we call freedom in Christ. If you're ready to start unpacking some of these deeper motivators and start reprogramming them for freedom so that you can actually live them out in real life, I would be honored to walk beside you in your journey. Email me and we can talk about what that might look like inside my life coaching program. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe it for more videos just like it.